Well, with food safety issues, everything comes down to the food and the behavior of the people who handle the food. And we have a variety of commodities, products here today that can highlight what people should be thinking about, whether they're consumers, whether they're public health inspectors. Probably hard to get inside a restaurant today to do this, so we thought we'd use our kitchen. And when we talk about food safety, we talk about a farm-to-fork system. That is, it begins on the farm and goes all the way through to the fork. And everyone, whether they're harvesting produce, processing it at retail, in a restaurant, or in a home, has a responsibility to reduce the incidence of foodborne illness. Whether it's through the provision of our food safety news or through the blog, which gets, right now we're up to about 8,000 hits a day, and we know what kind of information are looking for. For example, when it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, people actually do use thermometers on their roasts, but they don't know how to use them. And one of the biggest questions that we see popping up is, how do I use the thermometer properly? So we put a bunch of pictures on the blog to show people how to use it. Americans are obsessed with celebrities, so every time a celebrity barfs, we write about it. And it's usually, maybe they say that they were probably, drunk or whatever, but they say it's food poisoning. So every time that happens, we report it, and every time that happens, we get a lot of hits. Anything that involves pregnant mothers and babies, we get a lot of hits. So what we're trying to do is take basic food safety information and put it in a pop culture context. Because those kids who are working in food service, the 18 to 24s that I see at university, who are the last people to touch your salad before you eat it when you go out, do you think that they're thinking about washing their hands and the food safety of that product? Or are they thinking about their date later that night when they get off work? We got to be very rapid, relevant, reliable, and repeat the information in a variety of ways to get inside those kids' heads, because those are the things that make people sick, and we want fewer sick people. I do research in what's called food safety risk analysis. And risk analysis involves risk assessment, determining that salmonella or certain levels of salmonella will make you sick. Risk management, what to do about it, and risk communication. There's lots of people doing the assessment part. There's not too many people doing the management and communication part, which I do. And that involves not just figuring out how to talk to people, but also spending a lot of time in the field, on farms, and figuring out what interventions we can introduce or work with farmers to say, if you do this, you can reduce the loads, and do it in a cost-effective and simple manner. There's a bunch of shows in which people are forced to eat gross food, whether it's Survivor or Fear Factor, or I don't know, there's these chefs that go and they eat all these strange things. I'm not that adventurous. I eat pretty much anything. There are a few foods I won't touch. I will not eat raw sprouts because it's just too high risk of a food. I will not eat unpasteurized juices. Any produce I tend to buy from the biggest supermarket I can find because I know what their food safety requirements are. I also grow my own a little bit, but whether it's local, whether it's from your own garden or elsewhere, you have to practice the same good microbial food safety standards. The biggest risk with all of these things is, I can terrify people about food. I can tell you all sorts of scare stories, but the biggest risk is not eating at all. So the challenge is, how do we maximize the benefits of eating a diet rich in all sorts of different things while very actively minimizing the risks, because we know there are risks. There are just too many people getting sick.